Yo, what's up, y'all? You're now tuned into the podcast with Tigmatic. And I know y'all just seen me on the Blue Sky Show, but listen, we on episode 70, y'all. 30 more to 100. We on the road. We moving and booming. Ain't no we, it's me. And we, it's me and God. We going.
What's next? I gotta get it. I'm not gonna stay fucking down.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
It ain't a game. I earned this name. One punch. And it came from the streets. And I took it all over the world. Everywhere where you never there. Let's go. Real story. Real time. Stay tuned. Stay locked in. Let's go.
We coming in from the door, man, on folks them. Y'all already know, cuz. Yeah. I rock all this white like I'm godly. Sushi gon' come with wasabi. Fresh off the steps of the porch. I walk out, get in a Porsche. Know that I'm using the force. Know that I mastered the course. Known as the plug and the source. Haters, they feeling remorse. This for my dogs in court. That's facing the judge and the jury. My brother, he made it in sports. And that's why he rock all that jewelry. She can remember me now. Know that my vision is blurry. I got these racks on me now. Know that the money done carry me. Know that I'm lit in my city. Know that I'm hot. Know that we poppin', man. Everybody chasing that cloud. Running their mouth. Know I really feed the game. Yeah. Hold up. We on the beaches and right off the coast. Down here in Florida, we doing the most. The hustle on South Beach is like a LeBron. You call it a pound and we call it a bomb. We at the lick and I'm working with chicken. Shout out my nigga from Memphis, they chicken. On my dog and themselves, know I know that they listening. Yeah, I'm on a new level just like I'm Hendrix. Straight from the gutter, we come from the trenches. We ball on these niggas, they sit on the bench. They using the style and I swear I ain't landed. We pushing the P and the P is for profit. They watching and listening, now look how they copy. They hate and respect it, but gotta acknowledge me. Know that a nigga be doing a lot. Know that I'm lit in my city. Know that I'm hot. Know that we poppin', man. Everybody chasing that cloud, running their mouth. Know I really feed the game.
Hey, yo, folks. We are now back. We moving and booming. And hey, listen, now that we are here. 70 episodes in, and this is a good one, y'all. I got a treat for y'all tonight. Listen, I got the diva with me tonight. You know what I mean? I got the diva. Listen, we got an intelligent diva by way of Florida. She here. Billboard charts. Work with countless people out here. You know what I'm saying? She's a writer, singer, rapper. She do it all. You know what I'm saying? Entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? Swagged out. You know what I'm saying? And she slide on them. But we'll talk about that a little later. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I got the one and only Chinsia Kenner, Intelligent Diva. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm great. It's good to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here. I hope everything has been going well. You know, where are you from? You in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, but I'm from Philly.
Okay. Yeah, with these storms and everything, it's crazy.
So how's everything with the storm? Did you make out okay?
I made out okay. A couple of properties had some damage that I managed, but other than that, everybody was good.
Oh man, that's the Lord's blessing right there all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it's minor things, that's always a great thing. That means he was watching over for you.
Yes,
You
he
know,
was, as always.
as always. So give yourself a formal introduction like only you can, because I like to give my guests introduce themselves to the world. You know, I know the world know who you is, but for those that don't know who you are on my show, let them know.
Well, I'm Intelligent Diva, better known as Chinsia Kenner. I am an author, entrepreneur, singer, songwriter, actress, and also a tech geek.
Hey.
Basically lived in Jacksonville, Florida for about, I want to say, almost all my life. I think the furthest I've traveled is Germany. I was in Germany for like 4 years as a background singer, undercover. I want to say underground, what they would call independent artist. Absolutely loved it. I'm a mom of one. I also am blessed to still have my mother with me. I have my brother with me and a host of family and friends where basically I'm trying to bring everybody to the table. Let's get this money. Show them how entrepreneurship can be done. Create generational wealth is what I'm working on.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me a bit of what was it like in Germany before we talk about Florida. Let's talk about Germany first. You said you was a background singer.
Yes.
Germany.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Germany was, 6 months, but I want to say like 6 months behind when it came to the movies. I hated it because I am actually a city girl, so I could not get my hands on the latest fashions of what was going on. As far as like you couldn't go to like Walgreens or someplace that was like 24 hours. Everything closed early, like 6 o'clock. So I kind of hated that. The most part that I did enjoy was the traveling because I actually got a chance to see other parts of the world, Frankfurt, Munich, Germany. I've been to Paris, Czechoslovakia. And so as part of that was with music. So I was able to actually, people who decided.
Oh, wait. You said with music. Which music we talking about?
Oh, not music soul child, but just with music, like artists. So there were like a couple of people who were in the military. They got out, decided that they wanted to make their home Germany, and they stayed there. So they had a lot of connections that they actually were able to join and get everybody involved. And so they pulled me into that era, which allowed me to see the world because they've been there a lot longer than I had.
Oh, that's what's up. So living in Germany, what was it like in Florida for you? Let's break that down now. Since you broke down Germany, that's pretty dope that you got to have the chance to do your thing in Germany. Matter of fact, before we talk more about Florida, let's talk a little bit more about Germany. What was the name of the group that you were singing in?
T's Girls. So the lady who pulled us together, her name was Mrs. T. She owned a barbershop that was on the AFES Exchange. And so every week she basically had some gigs that were lined up where we would go on either other base, military base to perform. Also at restaurants. Back then they had a Chi-Chi's, so we had a regular gig at Chi-Chi's.
Yeah.
So, they treated underground artists like you were really celebrities. We had opportunity to open up for a couple of different shows of they would pull out independent artists. Now she messed up one day. This is where I dropped the ball with her because we had a chance to open up for R. Kelly. She liked to do cover songs, and R. Kelly wanted something that was more modern at the time, up to date. And she didn't want to do those songs. She wanted to do things like from Natalie Cole's era back in the day. And, he didn't want to do those songs. He wanted us to do things. I think back then the group Jade was out. Remember Jade? Escape was out. So he wanted us to do more of that. And because she said no, we didn't get a chance to We got dropped. We got tickets to the show.
Man, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But you still had an experience over there. So,
yeah.
Okay. So now we can talk about Florida. Let's talk about hometown. Tell the people what growing up in hometown is like for you and what it was like musically as well.
Well, I grew up on the north side of town. I want to say it was a town that was kind of built on, as part of Jacksonville, built on a waste dump. Back then you had a lot of your grandmothers, so your elders, everybody pretty much had bought their homes. They were retired. Their children were staying there. So that would be like our mothers were staying there.
Right.
At that time, I want to say, my mother had me very young. So as with her being, when she was a teenage mom, that's all everyone remembered. The adults, they were pretty much like everyone knew everyone who knew my mother was. A lot of people knew who my father was, but I felt like they put that imprint on me to fail. They were basically, if it was a man, these were older men, and with the expectation of them looking out for the youth, they didn't look out for the youth. They were pretty much looking at me as a piece of meat, basically, saying things to me like, you look just like your mother, or you got long legs like your mother, or we just gonna watch you get ripe, know. And so it was a bit hard for me coming up in the neighborhood. From an adult perspective, there were kids who probably, were raised by their parents, of course. And of course, they maybe have seen things in their growing up that they should not have seen, and they were mimicking those things. So everybody is mimicking these things. Like I had a little boy. I'm calling him a little boy because at the time we were children, right? And basically he had a crush on me. I wasn't interested. I wasn't giving him the time of day. And so he put a gun to my side. And I didn't know where he got the gun from, but I just, pretty much stayed still. And it bothered me because instead of an adult seeing it, possibly calling the police, seeing him, they were so stuck because he had me pinned to a wall. So they were so stuck on, oh, you're going to be just like, your parents, your mother, you're going to grow up and be fast. Instead of them doing that, they didn't call nobody. They called her to tell her, oh, she's just being fast. Now from my father's perspective, he always looked out, for me. He basically would tell my mother, don't allow me to go in certain places. But at the same time, I am very, very grateful and humble because there were a lot of people that were younger, older than me, of course, but they were younger and they were in the streets, meaning like there were some adults that got them involved in the streets.
Right.
So, but at the same time, they saw what I was going through. My grandmother was a Christian Baptist woman. She got me into the church. She made sure I went to Sunday school. She made sure that I actually, everything I wanted to do as far as getting in the choir, she was the one who initiated that. I would get up every morning on Sunday and I would mimic the choir members there, to try to make sure like I'm going to sound good. I want to sound like Miss Drunella, and so pretty much she's the one who saw that I wanted to sing. I would mock my mother's friends. She saw that I could, impersonate others and get into voice acting. She enrolled me into modeling and she stood by me for making sure that I could, do the things I wanted to do musically. She bought me instruments, a keyboard. She bought me a flute. I thought I was going to get in a band. I couldn't play the flute. They put me in the wrong class at that time. So I stuck with music as a part of my therapy because I felt like if I told my parents, that these things were happening in these streets, I didn't get raped, but I can't tell you how many times I ran from someone who attempted. I can tell every time I turned around, it was always a fight, meaning that, I was fighting to protect myself because someone would it would be a lot of he say, she say, I say, and I wasn't even like in the same grade or, you know, around these people. So they took that for granted. And I'm grateful because a lot of the older, I want to say some of the older boys that had they had teenage sisters, they had younger sisters who went to school. When they saw my grandmother, her arthritis was bothering her, she couldn't walk me to the bus stop, then they would actually ask her, can they take me to the bus stop? They never tried to bother me. They always would look out for me, pretty much like I was their sister, you know. And I want to say it got so bad that in order for me to sort of avoid going through all of those things that was going on in the neighborhood, you know, I got into the chorus because with music, I would write songs, I would write poetry.
So wait, let me ask you, you know, with all of these things that you've been through, because it sounds pretty rough, all the things that you went through at such a young age, you know. How did you deal with the traumatizing parts of that? Because, you know, even having a gun pointed at you, all of that, men looking at you, sexualizing you at a very young age and everything. How did you cope with that? And what did you do? Like, what was your coping mechanisms for dealing with that?
Prayer. I prayed a lot. I actually would write in a journal. That's as a teenager. I got to a point to where I want to say, like, from a teenager on, I was very private about it. So I pretty much suppressed it a lot. But there were people there, like I said, the guys would one guy, he taught me how to box. So he pretty much taught me how to defend myself. The day I realized that it got really bad, is there was a situation where they were starting things to where it was getting to a point to where adults were betting on fights of teenagers and kids. And it escalated to the parents because they paid someone to fight me. And at that point, because they looked at the fact that, you know, they knew I was smart, they knew that I wasn't trying to start any trouble. So it's like you don't know until you turn on that switch that, you know, then she's a beast. And so they thought that they could make money off of that. And I made up my mind from that point on that as soon as I became an adult, I was going to get out of that neighborhood. I'm not staying there. If I had a family, I'm not raising my family in that neighborhood. Once I did become an adult, you know, I got married at a young age. And because of those things, I didn't allow the streets to consume me. But what I would do is, because of the things that I would see and that I was growing up around, I would try to encourage those who were helping me to get out of the streets. Like, I never looked down on them. I never talked bad to them. I knew what it was like for someone to say, you're not going to be nothing. So I never told them that. I tried to encourage them, you know, and then for me to get to adulthood, still writing in my journal, I said, you know, eventually I'm going to do something with these poems. I entered like a First Coast Writers Festival. And what I did, I wrote a poem. It was in Spanish. It was about the Persian Gulf War, but it was combined with what I call like a street war. You know, I felt like me as a person, as a young girl, I was destined to pretty much prove everyone wrong. You said I wasn't going to do this. You thought I was going to have a teenage pregnancy. You thought I was going to go and repeat all these things. But at the same time, I decided that I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to get out of this. I went to therapy, and
therapy actually helps with a lot of things, because you need someone to vent to, that when it's times that you can't really tell family members or people close to you, because you don't want to feel like you're being judged, for one. For two, it's hard to express those things to family members, parents, because sometimes they hear you, but they don't hear you. Right. So not to cut you off, I just wanted to piggyback off of that. How do you balance your mental health with the demands of the entertainment industry? And then you can go ahead and finish talking about your therapy, because I wanted to ask you that, because you still had to do what you were doing through all of these things going on.
That is so true. So right. I would start by saying that stepping into the entertainment industry is hard as a woman. Okay? Right. And so a lot of times people try to take advantage of, and I did get taken advantage of, but I was one of these people to where I knew what it was like not to have anyone. So I gave some people like a second chance, actually chance after chance after chance.
Right.
And at that point, I was still going to therapy, but my music, when I started writing, I started pretty much turning my journal into songs.
Music. Right.
Yeah. And so it didn't, in some cases, it did help me. Because a lot of it I didn't release till like much later, because at the same time I'm going into therapy to learn about myself, because I did have some relationship issues. I had gotten a divorce. I dated a guy who had cheated multiple times. And for me, I started thinking to myself, I had zero tolerance at this point coming out of a marriage from dealing with that. I made up my mind in Germany. I remember standing outside and I said, you know what? I will never allow another man to take me out of my element, away from my family. Family was very important to me. I don't care how many issues you have. I just wanted to always have a solid foundation. And I learned how to extend my family, to pull others in. Because sometimes they say blood is not thicker than water, but sometimes, blood is just as watery. And so I pretty much felt like, I engaged myself into the church. And I don't know if you probably heard this song before, but long time ago, I would say, we're not perfect, right? So when I tell you I have about 5 Bibles, and I tell my daughter, I said, whenever I'm stressed with something, I would write it on and I would stick it in my Bible, and then I would pray about it, and then I would fast on it. In addition to me going to therapy, that's what I would do. So I had this song that I wrote called Sinner's Prayer, and there were times where I probably, would have friends that I could talk to. And then after a while, they're like, okay, you done forgave this person so many times, I don't want to hear it anymore. Right. So then I would start out my prayer. Hey, it's me. I'm calling on a favor again. Since I can't call my family and my so-called friends, you listen to my secrets and my promises, so that was part of Sinner's Prayer, which was the song that I wrote from the gospel charts, and it hit Billboard. That was dear to me.
And speaking of Billboard, let's talk a little bit more about Billboard. Tell the people a bit more about some folks you worked with throughout your journey. For those that didn't read the bio or get to read the bio, for those that are just watching on YouTube, tell the folks, run down your resume, talk your talk. You know what I mean? Talk your talk, man, diva.
So basically, I started out working with this artist. His name was Aaron Bean. He basically was a jazz musician. He was Grammy nominated, and he owned the studio. I had an in-house studio myself, and at that particular time, this is funny because this is the story behind Sinner's Prayer. At that particular time, I was basically looking at, writing a song, and he said, I want us to do a song together. And I was thinking, okay, you play the saxophone. Let me see. I do all sorts of genre. So before I wrote Sinner's Prayer, I wrote a song called Sex to a Sax, right? And even though it sounded very sensual, what nobody knew was the second verse. I basically tried to write a song that would fit and muse jazz and hip hop together. So I wrote the song to incorporate him, to put him on the song where he can play as the feature. But I was talking about how a musician plays the D note on an alto saxophone. But the way I said it, as far as the relay, it came out to be like, everybody's like, oh man, you did something like that. And I was like, yeah. And at the same time, with Sex to a Sax, that was my first song. It got considered for a Grammy. And so next thing you know, I ended up, I was looking for a publicist due to previous situations like we were talking about with the industry and people telling you, oh, I got this publicist for you. And then the publicist, you don't see a publicist, but anyway. So I ended up getting this publicist. His name was Victor Hart. And Victor Hart pretty much, he's with Megabuzz Music Promotions. And he started connecting me to, he said, you know what? I really want to see you elevate. So I'm thinking about maybe we can do some features. And I said, I don't think I really want to do no features right now because the features are pretty expensive. You got to go and get it cleared and all of these things. So there was a guy that he was working closely with. His name was Icy Lando. And Icy Lando had already done songs with Sean Kingston.
Okay.
So when he did the songs with Sean Kingston, and then he heard me rap, he said, you know what? I want you to get on this song. I said, you sure? I'd love to get on the song. So I got on the song with Icy Lando. It's a Truth to Dare remix. Icy Lando, Sean Kingston, Adrian Swish, who is a producer. And that was the first roundabout of songs. During that time, they love what I did with Truth for Dare. I wrote this song called How to Flex. I was like, I want one with a feature by myself, right?
Right.
So I wrote the song How to Flex. When I wrote it a couple of years ago, we never released it because the paperwork wasn't straight, right? So then I'm like, the paperwork has to be straight. So I was like, but I really want to release this song. I wish I could release this song. And I couldn't at the time. Rewind, fast forward. And then the next thing you know, I have a friend. Her name is Kelly Kale. I don't know, everybody probably seen her all over TikTok. She's always talking about calling people booty heads and all this stuff here. She goes viral all the time.
Right.
And so I was like, Kelly, I want you to get on this feature, right? First, I was just trying to get her to be on the feature. And at that time, she's like, I'll do it for you. And so I was just going to have her. So then he said, no, I think what we should do is we should go ahead and actually put you, Kelly Kale, and Icy Lando and Sean Kingston on this feature. So that was the next feature, right? So
you got 2 features with Sean Kingston.
I actually have 4.
Oh, snap.
So I have 4 with Sean Kingston. I did How to Flex, and then I did Fly Together with him by myself. I have 1 with Ty Dolla $ign, which is
okay. Let's talk about that song. How did that come about?
Victor Hart. I said, once again, I said, I was getting into like trying to do features, and so he gave me like a list of names. And sometimes the features, they go through like producers. These producers have like a publishing or a distribution deal. So he was like, choose one from this list. Believe it or not, the first person I chose was one of the rappers from the Migos, right?
Okay. Which one? Quavo, Takeoff?
It was Quavo. It was Quavo. And so but because I didn't really want to talk about it because of what happened to Takeoff, around about that same time, we didn't end up actually doing the song. I had to choose someone else.
Okay.
So I said, just give me another one with Ty Dolla $ign. So I did another one with Ty Dolla $ign. It's called How I Feel. But then once again, we actually released it, but then he's like, this is my publicist now. The producer came back and said he wanted more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, you didn't get all of this straight before you brought him to me, you know? So in that case, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You have to, when you come to me, you got to come to me with your paperwork straight.
Right.
First of all. And so don't come with opportunities and it's not going to happen. So I started to try to focus on other things that I could only control. I had 2 more features that were unreleased, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these features where basically you don't actually get a chance to meet the artist. They're doing the hook, but you can go back and so we did a hook and it was a song. It's called Rubber Bands. We never released it. It's got Lil Wayne on it, right? And then Victor came back to me. He said, you know what? I think we should just go back and get the verse. But I didn't trust it at this point because at this point, you've already given me several features. But then you're not clearing the beats with the producers, so we have to run into this case. So then I said, you know what? Since I've already wrote the song, I've spent money for the recording. I spent money doing these videos. I spent money, pretty much getting the publishing ready. And I don't want to waste money. So what I'm going to do is the songs that I have written where I'm actually the artist that's rapping primarily on the first and second verse, I'm going to take them and I'm going to flip them. I'm going to just include myself, redo the hook, and redo the whole entire beat. So I had 2 other songs that were like that I'm going to be releasing this year. So I changed Rubber Bands, which had Lil Wayne on it, to call Run Me My Money. And Run Me My Money was triggered by the situation.
Okay. So how do you handle the pressures of being in the spotlight?
It all depends. Sometimes, believe it or not, I'm a little bashful. Yeah, and I don't probably come across as bashful. But there are times where I am around people that I don't know. But because of my love and my passion for what I do, a lot of times I just swallow my nerves. I say a prayer. Whenever I'm pretty much nervous, I repeat the 23rd song mentally to myself. And then I'm good. Now, outside of that, there are times where I would say people doubt you. They feel like, because I'm always wanting to help people. I don't mind sharing knowledge with someone because someone took a chance and they shared knowledge with me. So I don't mind. I'm not afraid. I don't look at things as competition. It's the play in the world is so big. There's so many entrepreneurs to make money.
And to piggyback off what you said, about yourself, that is true, because when we first met, you dropped some jewels. You gave me quite a few jewels and ran a few jewels like straight from the conversation as soon as it started. Yeah. And I think that's a great thing to have as an artist and a businesswoman, to want to teach people as well, because like you said, it's enough on the plate for everybody. Let me ask you this. What are your coping strategies other than, the journal? You spoke on the journal. What else do you do to cope with things to ease your mental health? And what are some things you do for self-care?
Okay, to ease my mind with mental health, sometimes I give myself social media breaks. I will pick a day. There is no social media. I will not post. I won't read anything from social media. And at that time, I'm basically just trying to stay away from the madness, Another thing that I do is sometimes I will let my family know in advance, people who are important to me in advance. Hey, you might call me tomorrow. I'm not going to be available. And that's because when you talk about self-care, that's my me time. And sometimes I take this time out to strategize, I'm thinking ways to improve some of the things that I am doing, whether it be I want to just focus on writing for a couple of hours, whether or not I just want to lock down and go in the studio and just pretty much, record some music. And, I take that time to do whatever it is that I want to do at that time. I can't listen to anybody else's problems. I'm not going to fill your head with my problems, and then I'll write everything out, because I'm always like, that's how I stay organized, so the things that I plan to do, that I need to do, that are pretty much immediately, I, list them all out and I prioritize them.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. So like for self-care, what you said about self-care, I do yoga. There are times where I'll go on a shopping spree.
And for some that helps,
Yeah.
Falling out helps for some people,
Yeah. But the shopping sprees I'll go on and not so much related to like clothes. Like I'm into home decor. I'm into like designing. I'm into like, sometimes I'll get in the yard and do landscaping. So I'll go and do those things that are taking me away from the element of what is stressing me out. Because sometimes it can be the music. Sometimes it can be work, because I'm also a woman in IT. And I am one of the very few African Americans in my area.
You sound like you a little scared to say that the way you said it.
I don't want to miss nobody.
Like a Tesla bot for one.
I don't want to miss nobody.
African Americans.
I don't want to miss nobody, because I do have like, we're under the same department, but we're not on the same team.
Okay. So understandable.
It's basically me, and it's pretty much male dominated, but there are some women that are there, and sometimes people are very headstrong. So a lot of times I have to suppress how I would respond outside of work. I can't respond that way at work. So it sometimes it can get difficult, because they will push those buttons, and I'm like, Lord, help me to suppress the mockery.
So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Is that your billboard marking on the wall right there?
Yep, that's them.
Can you tell the folks a little bit so they can see it like up close? For those that never seen them before, show them what they look like.
Okay, I don't know if you can see that one. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see number 4.
Number 4. Okay, so that's User, and I got that from Internet Radio Mainstream R&B. I was on Billboard for 4 consecutive weeks, maybe a little longer, because of course you had to climb the chart. But once you make like the top 10, I ended up being at number 4 consecutively for like 3 weeks. And then I was number 7 during the last week.
Okay.
User, when I wrote that song, I was going through a time where I lost my ex-mother-in-law, and I found out some things where my ex-husband, he pretty much used her a lot. And so I put my feelings into that song with User.
Okay.
Number 2, I don't know if you can see that. Number 2 is the gospel one I told you about, Sinner's Prayer.
Yeah.
This one was very dear to me because actually, I always wanted to do a song with my family. So I included my brother, my mother, and my daughter.
Oh, that's dope.
And so at that point, this one, I ended up in the top 20, I want to say top 30.
Right.
So I was actually on the Billboard Internet Radio Gospel Chart. I was at number 21 for like 2 consecutive weeks. And then the final week, I was at number 24.
Okay.
Okay. This one, way up top.
That's that number 1.
That's that number 1. That's that Baby Love.
That's that gold boy.
Yeah, Baby, I Love You. That one, pretty much, that's my the song I wrote to my boyfriend.
Okay.
And we've been together like 12 years, going on 13. And baby, I love you. Normally, he'll say, oh, he's the inspiration to all my songs. And so one day we had a conversation, and he was like, tell me how you feel about me. And sometimes you can just say something to me and I can turn it into a song. I will turn it into a song quickly. So he just had a conversation. And so I said, baby, why are you asking? Do you feel a passion? So then I thought about it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna write a song about it.
That's dope.
You can put your name on this one because that one definitely is about you.
That's definitely dope.
That was my first time. And what else actually made me proud was that I have an artist that I was managing. I'm still affiliated with him, but I feel like
right now. Are you still into management?
Yes, I am. I don't really.
Are you looking for artists right now?
I will be looking for artists. I'm going to say this now. I am going to be looking for artists. I'm planning to look to sign some artists come 2025. I want to make sure what I'm trying to do is make sure everything is lined up because I do have 2 record labels. I have Diva Underground Records. I also have Intelligent Diva Music. And then I have a TV channel. So my goal here.
So let's talk about that TV channel too. So yeah, tell the people a bit about everything. Go ahead, tell your plan. I want to hear this.
So right now, what we're working on is I have a Roku TV channel. It's called IDMTV. The plan is that as an artist release music today, everything has changed. It's not just about music. It's more so about content. So I want artists just like yourself. You have your podcast. You have artists on. You have regular people.
I got music too.
Yeah, you got music too. We've been talking about this music, and I listen to your stuff. So, I want to be able to, like, when I sign an artist, I want to be able to have you expand. So you release your music, you get a chance to put your videos on the entertainment channel. You may launch your own entertainment channel. It's like me basically teaching our artists to become entrepreneurs. I don't really want to be I'm not a major label, so I'm going to be honest, transparent. It's an independent label. And the way that I structure my record label is to make sure artists, you stay in control of your music. My goal is to partner with you as you become an entrepreneur. If a podcast is what you do, then let's go ahead and let's bring your podcast to the OTT streaming sites, which they call those over the top. You have so many streaming sites. So now you're putting your music out there on the music streaming sites, but now you're putting your music into your actual content, which can be on Roku. It can be on other Roku channels. It can also be on other streaming platforms that are monetized outside of YouTube.
That's awesome.
In addition to that, my attorney is working on right now, helping me with obtaining a BMI license, so that I'll be able to, it's a lot of benefits to having a BMI license for my TV channel, because you have to go through and get approvals. Sometimes you want to be able to play other people's music. I want to be able to give artists the opportunity to, get into acting, get into your content, expanding and you building a fan base outside of just music. I don't want so many people come in, and a lot of times people try to offer you the wrong way to do it. I want to have artists come in, and I want you to be able to, if you're going to go and perform, I want you to perform, but I want you to get paid for it.
Absolutely. And that's key for artists, because a lot of us, and you and I had this conversation, but for those that don't know, when you do a lot of these things, it doesn't start off with you making the bucks right away.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put in the work and you have to figure it out. So a lot of the people that do this, that's the whole goal. You figure it out and you figure out what works for you, and ultimately something gives if you continue to put the work in. So I say that for many, if you continue to put the work in, something will come out of it. And having someone like Miss Diva here, giving people an opportunity to shine in a way where you're in control of what you're doing is awesome within itself. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about a specific song that you feel like you channeled your triumphs or accolades. Like a song you was talking heavy on. If you had a song that you was talking real heavy, what song would that be?
Oh, User. I would say User is. The reason I chose User is because at that particular time, there were so many emotions that went into that song, and I could even feel it when I was executing it in the booth, and and I had to dig deep into that song so that sometimes we say things, and when we communicate, sometimes people are not wanting to put their lives on the forefront about what's going on, what they say, air your dirty laundry. And at that time it was so sensitive, but I was so hurt. Right.
Yeah.
And so User, I would say I got it off my chest. And so I remember letting my family hear it. I let some people at work hear, and they were like, wow, I really I can really feel, that you were mad, and I'll tell you a secret. At that particular time, I already had Baby I Love You spinning on the radio, and Baby I Love You had already gone number 1. And so a lot of times people were saying, they were suggesting that I sing more, right? And not rap. Then they're like, why would she rap on this song? Why would she put this? Because, and I said, if I listen to what everybody would say, then it probably wouldn't have went in the direction that it went in. I chose to go ahead and put Use Out because I did it for me. It was a part of my pain at the time. The next thing was I wrote a song called Pain, and Pain was about a relationship that I had gone through. And I released this album called Music is Art. And on that album, I kind of paid homage to the DJs, and I did skits. So the skits pretty much were basically channeling what goes on today in the entertainment industry. So entertainment industry has a scope of television, music, podcasting. So I made it seem like, how you have those TV shows after dark, someone calls in and they have a confession. So that's where the podcast came in at. And it was just audio. And so I did the voice actress as me being the therapist. And then I was the person calling in and basically telling the therapist how I caught my man cheating. And, I had written these things out in my journal. I actually had done that in real life. And so the therapist asked me in real life, when you read these things, how do you feel? I said, I feel pain. And so then I said, well, you want to express it in song. And so that's where the song Pain came from. Then I decided from Pain, I would branch off of that because I'm not an actual artist that stays in one box as far as genres. So then
what other genres you do? I know you do the gospel. We know you rap. We know you sing. What else you do? You ever write country or
country, pop? I had 2 country songs. I have a country song out that's that actually called Dark is Pain. And then I released another country song called Do-Si-Do.
Okay.
And those were basically stemming from the characters. So when I did the album, and the album branched off with the audios of those actual podcasts and the DJs, I decided to turn it into a TV series, a miniature TV series. And the person who called in the show was Songbird. That was the alias. So Songbird is basically, right now I have from the album, like I said, we did a spinoff as a TV show. So I have like, it's going to be 5 seasons of it, sessions of it, where you can basically see that for Songbird, she released songs in country, she released songs under the genre of pop. And then I have Promise. Promise is the woman that actually I had to deal with, involved in when I caught him cheating. So Promise comes out with her music, because through musical therapy, it gives you exercises that you can do in order to deal with your pain. So I'm basically channeling these different characters, and Promise will write the songs that are from R&B. So that's where the song Slide came from, because that I just released, Slide. And Promise basically is saying that at that particular time, I remember talking to the lady, and she said to me, "Your man chose." He chose,
Yeah.
And so
yeah, that's on the end of the video, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Slide, so when I wrote Slide, I took it with different types of meanings, but I basically wanted it to be, it was when I wrote the song, my boyfriend and I were talking about it, and he was like, "You should release it." And that's a lingo now that we actually say to ourselves sometimes. But but I still wanted to make the project from itself. Each character will have that genre of music that they perform. That's all going to be different elements and sides of me. So Promise would do the hip hop. She would do the R&B. She would, some of it may be a little bit raunchy, but she's going to go down this journey, this path where she's going to find herself. So the raps are going to take that and basically turn it into something positive, where Grandma Diva is also a character I play, and she's going to do the gospel, because she's basically trying to help her granddaughter see that, you can't be popping up on people and pulling up on them talking about you proud to have some other woman's husband. You got to.
So wait, T has a great question for you.
Okay.
T Brown says, many artists turn personal experiences for inspiration. Have you turned to personal experiences for inspiration? Have you ever held back on sharing personal struggles or dark moments in your life for fear of damaging your public image? That's a great question, T.
That's a great question. It's funny you say that. And the answer is yes, I have. And the response to that is it deals with, there was a part that I think I just shared with you guys that came from my youth. I never dealt with that, and so at the time when I didn't deal with it, it involved so many different people, like my mother, and so out of protection for her, because I know what she's been through, I didn't want to channel that in the story. But however, I am working on a project, because I do feel like there's a part of me that is part of my personal growth. I got to let this go. And so that project is going to be called The Warriors, which is basically going to talk about the things that I shared with you, but it's going to be, through song, where I'm going to share those struggles. So it'll have interludes. It's going to be a visual EP.
That's pretty dope.
And so it's going to have interludes where it's going to, share some of those darkest moments that people didn't even realize that I probably even went through, because I didn't wear my feelings on my sleeve.
That's cool. I feel like, that's what's missing in music. We grew up with a whole bunch of interludes on albums and skits and stuff.
Yeah.
Artists were very creative then. So let me ask you this. How do you feel about the current status of music right now? and how it's changing, like how country is now the number one genre of music right now, when hip hop was number one for so long.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I will say this, I think that for so long, people have basically put like a stigmatism on what genre is popping and which one is not. A lot of people don't study. As a listener, when you listen, you're listening to what is playing right now. You're paying attention to the trends. But if you actually are an artist, for most of the artists, they are also under major labels. So some of these major labels are taking the analytics where they're studying, okay, what is everyone listening to right now? Are the people saying that they're missing? So you notice a lot of artists are sampling. They're sampling music like crazy,
Sure.
And so I started to sound, I think when you hear that and so many people are sampling episodes of the same song, you don't hear nothing new. It's almost like everybody sounds the same. When it comes to Beyonce and what she did, granted, I'm proud of how she handled it, because there were other artists who were there always, who were doing country music. They've been doing it for a while, but they didn't get the actual, exposure, because a lot of times when it comes with the exposure, is you being in front of the right people who have the network to get you exposed, or you basically having the budget to get you the exposure. I think country music has been actually popping for a while, a long time. It's just that in certain areas of the country and geographically, we're just hopping on it, because where everyone is starting to see it, but in certain areas, it's always been, one of the top genres. Now, I like the fact that if you want to tap into country, which, I grew up, my grandmother listened to country. So I grew up listening to all types of music. When you tap into country, you got to make it your own, though.
That's right. So let me ask you this. How do you think the music industry or entertainment industry as a whole can get better with mental health awareness?
Okay. This is probably going to tap into a lot of what's going on right now.
Absolutely. That's why I asked you. This is one of the top questions of the show.
The first thing I'm going to say is you gotta basically go in. The music it's been in the wrong direction. It's been in the dark for a very, very long time, where people have always painted a fictitious picture of, the entertainment industry. Deep down inside, you don't know what these artists go through, because you have people promising them the world. And at that point, I feel like when you bring an artist now, which where I would like to see it go, when you bring the artist in now, you got to teach them about the world, what to stay away from. The education is out. When somebody basically is not giving you the true about the game, teaching you what to look for, then you're going to go in blind. That's how they can manipulate you. I think it has gotten to be very, very manipulative.
Right. And I think that doesn't just go for younger artists. I know that the industry targets younger artists, but that goes for the older artists that just get their first break coming in older as well.
Yeah.
The less you don't know, the more they can take advantage.
They put you in situations. They try to get you in compromising situations you're not aware of what's going on, so that they can basically coerce you to do what they want you to do. And you get threatened. A lot of times they're going to tell you, oh, well, I can get you blackballed. All I got to do is just make a call and these things like that. I think that honestly, there are a lot of laws that a lot of artists are not aware about, that basically can protect them. But because of the fact that everyone going in, they can't always afford an entertainment attorney. They can't always afford to do these different things. That's the difference about when I saw things like that. I want to be able to close the gap, because even if you're not, I'm just take music out of the equation, because first of all, music is a business. So any artist that's doing it, you're entering into a small business. where you are the CEO, you're the owner, you're calling the shots of how you want your business to be ran. And a lot of times we step out and we don't think that we can do all the things of a major label. You just need to learn what it is that you need to have to cover what I say, your house, your foundation. And there are ways that you can get people to help you, can get attorneys to help you, you can get someone to help you with the structure. I think every artist should have a mental health counselor assigned to them, somebody personally that they can go and talk to as part of your team. If it means that you have to pay someone for like a couple of hours to go, then then go do it. If somebody I'm working with needs that, I'm going to pay for them to go and do it. I'm going to try to figure out a way that I can, and that's part of the things that I am working on. From a corporate perspective, let's say some large corporations, every October, it starts a new physical year. So they're looking at all new business, what vendors they're going to keep contracts with, things of that nature. I do the same thing, but I'm looking at it from all perspective. Okay. I want to have a therapist that can actually give the artist some type of therapy when it comes to whether it's life coaching, or whether it's like when you feel you need to be able to have work-life balance, so I don't want you to come in and feel like you got to work, which you do have to
taking the
work
pressure off of the artist. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, you got to work hard, but you still got to be able to also have something that where while you sleep is still making money for you, so you can still spend time with your family, do the
And
7
feel comfortable while still pursuing your career. That's awesome. I like that idea. See, this is a diva right here, folks. And this is some gems she's throwing out there as a person in the industry that's doing some awesome things. So let's talk about a bit more about your channel.
Okay.
Tell the people a bit more about your channel. And my second question to you is, why do you think mental health is taboo in the hip hop community?
Okay.
It doesn't matter which order you answer.
Okay. So I'll tell you, I start with why I think it's challenging the hip hop community. I think it's challenging the hip hop community because there are a lot of people dying. There are a lot of people, pretty much, if it's something that has to do with, you're hearing some things about, if some artists you find they have some type of paraphernalia on them, or sometimes it's in them being in a situation where they've made it, they've gotten all of this money, but yet and still, they're still going to be true to who they are. So they don't want to, they still want to be doing the same things, So I think that sometimes instead of you tapping into you focusing it on the situation, they focus on the person and they give them like a bad rap. One of the things I used to teach about, it's called dealing with emotional behavior.
Right.
And when you deal with emotional behavior and you're trying to build what I would say a constructive, relationship that continues to build, then what you want to do is you want to focus on the situation. Say you come to me and you're an artist and you tell me you done been to jail, you done got shot 9 times, you got things going on where you still in the streets. My focus is, okay, I'm not going to judge you, first of all. I want to make it, we're not making it a safe space for artists. Everyone is not given that safe space for artists to express themselves and what they're going through. Absolutely. Because of the fact, just like people are saying, you're worried about your image, you don't want bad press. So what you got to do is deal with the root of the issue. Mental health is serious. And Absolutely. There are some things that sometimes people fight, they're fighting their demons, or they're fighting where they're battling with something, and this is how they cope with it.
Right. So the music is the outlet. And,
right.
And to piggyback off what you said, which I like so much, this is great. But what you said is something pivotal there that you said about, when a person has gone through that, in order to help them process, you have to be an empath and understand what really happened to that person.
Right.
You know, sometimes when you're dealing with artists that go through these types of things, some people don't think about what's going on with them mentally, and they're just more focused on the work side of it and think that they're normal when things traumatic happen to them. And that's not the case. That's why they're doing music, because they can feel and see about themselves that they're not normal. That's an outlet. I'll use myself as an example. You know, I got shot in the head. I got PTSD. I deal with that from time to time, you know, but with the same situation, the music, this microphone, this podcast, all of it is therapy for me, and it helps me cope and helps me cycle through life, you know, and praying to God and holding God as my above all anything, you know, praying, keeping my mind focused on family, music, and and all of these things, and having people to help is always a great thing. So having a person that would care about the artist in that way, I think is very essential. So I want to commend you on that as well. I think that's pretty dope. So whatever artist you decide to deal with, I'm gonna just see, you know.
And I commend you, because for the first thing is, you know, you mentioned something very important where you admitted to having PTSD.
Absolutely.
And the first thing is, a lot of times you have to come to grips and admit, you know, I do have a problem, even if it means you're admitting it to yourself. But what is your outlet? You can make your outlet be like a positive outlet. You
Absolutely.
know, I have a couple of friends, you know, that, like I said, I grew up with. In back then, you know, people, I'm going to say, labeled them. They put them in this place because it felt like, oh, well, if you grew up in a bad neighborhood, you're going to become a product of your environment. And that is not true. You know, you cannot just think that you can constantly stereotype someone. You know, Jesus gave us a chance. You know,
that happens a lot. That happens a lot, especially for people that go through those types of situations. Like, I'll use myself as another example. You know, when I first got hit, right? People were saying I was going to be retarded. I wasn't going to be able to walk or talk. I was going to be blind. It was all types of rumors spread around my hood about me, right?
Right.
So when people saw that I was able to be mobile, I'm still able to, you know, walk, talk, and things like that, and I can rap still, and I can still make beats still, and you know, there are some things that did suffer because of what happened to me, but I'll talk about that offline, because those are things that are personal. But you know, because of that, people throw this stigma on people that go through types of situations, and they think that you can get over on them, even in the industry. Oh, I can get over on this person because this happened to them, or I'll try this, I'll try that, and they'll see how much they can get away with.
Right.
So for a person like yourself to have understanding of a artist and what they go through is dope. So, which leads to my next question. Okay. Thank you for taking your time to do this interview with me. First of all,
you're welcome.
But let's talk Slide.
Okay.
Tell the people about this record. What was the feelings behind this record, and tell the people a bit about your expressions behind it.
So, Slide again was a channel of both. So basically, the situation that had happened to me in the past was I was dating this guy, and we were in a relationship, and basically we had been dating on and off for some time. And it got to a point to where, you know, he pretty much, when I met him, right, he was not honest about his situation. You know, people, you know, like to say that when, you know, if they're married, the marriage is not working, but you're living separate, but you're not pretty much gone from the person, that disconnected on paper. Right. So at this particular time, this person, we had dated before, we broken up, we had gotten back together. And at this point, he was juggling like me and 5 different other women. And he met all of these women on social media. Some women he went on like dating websites and he created this profile. And so I pretty much, I asked him about it a few times and he denied the situation. So God forgive me, I don't like to call people a dummy, but this was dumb, okay? Because what he did was he sent a chain email. And when you sent this chain email, it had about 5 or 6 different emails on it, all women. And it had a prayer. So one day I went to his house, I knocked on the door, and he was telling me that, I would never like date anybody that I met on a dating website. I'm not going to do this. And then I hear this noise in this room. So I'm like, oh, Papi. And I'm like, is that somebody that's in his house that's Spanish? So I'm knocking on the door. He's not saying anything. He's not coming to the door. And then I said, oh, okay. All right. So I got home and I reached out and I said, I don't know, but I got a funny feeling that this email, one of you women on this email, I told him who I was and I told him how long I had been dating him. And I said, and he probably isn't being honest about the situation at all. And I came there this morning and I got a funny feeling one of y'all were there. Right. So everybody all these women, everybody started chiming in and basically responding to this email. And then this one lady responded and she admitted to being there. And so when she admitted to being there, she told she talked to him about it. She said, and basically, I guess when he got in the shower, she went through his emails and she started telling everybody on the email that what I was saying was true, right? And so there was this one lady, and she was going back and forth with me. Well, because she moved here from another state, and I'm like, what would you do that? And so, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but sometimes you can't take what these men say at face value, right? And so she was going back and forth with me, basically saying, well, I don't care if he was juggling all us. He chose, right? I'm going to stay. He chose. I don't care about y'all. I'm going to be with him regardless, And I was like, what? So crazy. He was telling me, calling me out of my name, telling me I'm stupid, knowing that she was going to be there regardless. And he was like, oh, you went and you did this. And she was like, coming back, and she kept saying, your man slid. So, I built that off of a character Promise because she's cocky like that, And so basically my current relationship is a combination. My current relationship, sometimes, I'm joking back and forth, with my boyfriend. He's at work sometimes. And when he's at work, instead of being sensual and saying something, too risque, he'll say to me, one day I sent him a video. He was working on Saturday. I was off. And I said, have you been good today? I might let you slide. Right. So ever since I said that to him, he was like, I like that. I like that phrase. I like that. So then sometimes he started saying it back to me. He'll say, babe, when I get home, you gonna let me slide? And so I said, okay. So then He said, you know what? You should write a song about it. You should write a song and you should call it Slide. And I said, I am not writing a song about it because everything you tell me, you want me to go way in left field because you want it to be all about you. And so I said, well, here's what I'll do. Finally, it boiled down to it. I got to thinking with the project that I was working on for Promise, I wanted to have a risque vibe to it, but I also wanted it to have a vibe, where slide can mean more than one thing. Slide can be what me and my boyfriend were talking about, instead of saying, a word that was too raunchy, or it can be related to like, your man, cheating, you let your man slide. But then also the beat that I chose, it was more so like, it was something you can also slide to. You can do the electric slide to it. You can slide on some skates to it. So then I said, you know what? Slide can fall into the category of so many different things. Right. So I want to bring all of those elements together within the song. So
basically you made it a way for it to still get your point across, but for radio.
Yes.
Right. So which leads to my next question, right?
Mm-hmm.
With all of this music that's not making people imagine, and everything is so in your face, I'm gonna keep it funky. You already know we not cursing on here, but I'm gonna say it in a way where I can make it still for radio and for a podcast.
Right.
Everybody, a lot of the female rappers is out here just flat out, I want my box seat. This is how it's going, and a lot of men is like, give me top. I want my box seat, give me top, bop, 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 bop. That's all we hearing on the music, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about being an artist that still leaves something to the imagination for the people to make them think of so many different ways of a for a song?
I feel great because a lot of times, I have to think about the marketing of a song. And one thing that I do hate about a song, I have done some songs that were risque and they were way out there. But if I didn't like having to do, I don't like having to do a clean version and do a dirty version of the song. I also don't like having to bleep out the song because it's like, if I have to say the word that I said in the song, I said it and it has that meaning to it. I really don't want to take it out. But I feel like when you are saying that, I'm a person who believes in diversity. I'm a person who believes in not just basically targeting one specific audience. So I want it to be like a multi-genre type of audience. And right. I realize even though a lot of people are currently just throwing sex in your face, right? I try to bring and educate it and say, hey, you know what? I may still talk about sex, but when I talk about it, I'm talking about it from an angle where you're in a relationship with someone. Either that's your husband, your spouse, your long-term commitment partner, whoever it is. That's still something that is human. But what I'm going to do is, in order to make it tasteful so that I can present it to others, I'm going to make sure that the words that I use or the metaphors that I use are going to be something that you're going to use your imagination. I didn't say it. You can use your imagination. I have a song coming out that I'm making a part. It's so funny. I just worked on and recorded it today, and it's called Cookie. So when I say Cookie, I was letting my assistant hear it. And I said I wrote this song in 2018 and I didn't drop it, but I'm going to drop it now, part of the Warriors project. And when I drop this, I'm talking about the cookie that you think I'm talking about. Right. But in the song, I'm basically expressing, you see this cookie and you want it. I'm basically saying I'm talking to the guy like a baker. You're the baker, right? So at this point, I'm describing different types of cookies, but the way and my delivery it's going to lead to your imagination. Oh, she's talking about this. Well, yeah, you know, I could be, but you know, deep down inside I am, but I'm not saying it, you know. So I think we have to get more creative because we have to be, even though you do have parents that don't always monitor what their children listen to, the youth do listen to you, and they actually do mimic what you say, you
Right.
know. So I do have to be, as a parent, I have to be mindful of that myself. And sometimes I'll tell you, if I DGAF, then I DGAF.
Right.
But if it has to do, because at the end of the day, I feel like, okay, that's the song's delivery. That's how it has to go. But at the same time, you want to be viewed as a person to where they can, it's sort of like how they say you can take her home to meet your mama. I want you to be able to play it in any type of setting. You know, so I have to make
Right.
music that's universal, which allows me to think outside the box, to use those words that can be played on television and radio, and you know, not be offended by it.
Right. And I think that's dope, because that's something that's very important for not just the listener, but for the parents as well, but also for the world, because we have so many artists that just want to be so vulgar and
Mhm.
not make anything for the imagination, and show creativity.
Right.
I think that's being lost in the art of making music, period.
Mhm.
You know, in our era, and I know I might sound like the old head young bucks, because you know, my crowd is from 18 to 35. So for the
Mhm.
ones that's the young ones that's watching, I know I might sound like the old head. Well, let me old head for a second. In our day, we had the moments where, you know, the rappers, they would put it and punchlines in a way where they didn't have to just flat out say it, you know. They
Yeah.
had to play with it a little bit lyrically. And
Yeah.
that's something that's very important, I believe, for some artists. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of this music that is like that, just flat out vulgar, I
Mhm.
like that too. So don't take what I'm saying for face value. I'm just asking this question because it's so many songs just doing that. But there's not a lot of artists that's taking the time to really think out of their box.
That is so true. And I guess when, you know, you get to that point to where when you, as an artist, you're releasing the music, you want to be able to release the music and market the music. You know,
Absolutely.
I don't like wasteful spending. So it's like, if you put the music out, it's got to be something that you can send to radio. It's got to be something you can send to TV. You got to be able to at least allow the music to
Absolutely.
get maximum exposure. And those things can limit you. So why not, don't do something that's going to limit your power in doing so? Because just because a song doesn't blow up today, you have no idea how it can be years from later on down the line, because that's your intellectual property. You
Right.
know, it's what some artists don't realize, once you make that music, that's an asset. You know, if you're writing and you're a songwriter, and or if you are a producer, some people don't even know that when you go into the studio and you're saying, you know what, you're working with a producer and you're saying, hey, I want the sound, I want to be able to have horns here, I want a violin here, I want this there. You once you do that, you are a co-producer, because you're basically selecting all of the different elements that you want in your song. Why spend all that time and your money to do that, and then you can't send it anywhere because they won't play it? It's censored.
Right.
You know,
And the person that's the co-producer should be getting the credits as well on the
right?
BMI checks when they come in,
Exactly.
you know. Uh,
Exactly.
Now, so let me ask you this. How do you feel about producers taking royalties and all of the things like that? Because we see that a lot going on now, and masters, or even, you know, managers having parts of the masters. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
Okay, tell
I don't
why.
like
Elaborate a bit.
I want to say this because here's the thing: you have the composition where the person is making the song. So sometimes I feel like at that point, once you made that track, and this is where it comes to, like, I would say some producers, they come across as they want to limit you. They want to be able to want you to give them 50% as a songwriter credit. They want points on the back end. You've already paid them for the beat, right? So let me just talk about the producers that don't have, that they're actual producers, but you don't have contracts, you don't have license, you're not structuring your business as a producer to be able to properly receive your credit, for one, and properly for the artist to know what their limitations and restrictions are.
Right.
So then at that point, now what you're doing is pretty much judging the artist when they come through the door. Oh, this artist might not spend any money on marketing, so I'm just going to charge them like $1,000 to make this beat, or I'm going to charge them $1,500 and I'm going to get my money up front. Then you get another artist that comes in and they're like, oh, okay, you know what? This artist, oh, you going to put some money up for marketing. So yeah, here, let's do this split sheet. And, you can pay me this money, and then we're going to go ahead and write it up on the back end. I want to get points, this and that, the other. You can't be that type of wishy-washy producer. You need to have your own, your contracts at the door, your licensing. So then at that point, it's clear between you and the artist that you're working with how you are going to, whether that they're okay. Because if you have those conversations up front, then there's no issues on the back end.
Absolutely, I agree.
If you don't have those conversations up front, and then you come back on the back end and you tell me, guess what? I'm not dropping this track. Because at the end of the day, it's like, you should have told me up front, which is one of the reasons why, they have what you call work for hire agreements too, for those who don't do those things, And so I just feel like, I am not willing to work with a producer who doesn't have their contracts, their licensing in place to specifically define whether or not it's exclusive, whether or not it's non-exclusive. How many points do you expect? Because once we sign on this dotted line and we both agree, and it's been going through the redlining, later on, I don't want to hear you come back and say, oh, you know what? Now I want this, 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 and this, and this, because you should have had that in your agreement in the beginning. So and then those who want to take too much, then I feel like at that point, are you going to promote the record too?
That's right.
Because if you actually you coming to the artist, oh, we want to work with you. You giving them the money. They're telling you that you're going to actually be on the track, with them. They got their tag on it, all of this stuff here. But then you're saying, hey, I want points. Oh, when it reach like 5,000 streams or something, or whatever, then okay, you got to switch to a different license. Okay, so then at this point, I feel like if you have all of these provisions in place and someone is also paid you, then you should be promoting, because that's still your business. This is your beat. Your name is on this tag. These artists are constantly spending money with you. So then at that point, you are officially a collaborator.
Right. And you're a part of the whole process. So everything should be distributed the proper way.
Right.
So I agree. So give me some pros and cons of the industry.
The pros are, this is a big industry where basically, even though people try to put tags and labels on it to where you're limited, age, sometimes people will be like, maybe it's too late. At this point, you should not do this. Because of the fact that the entertainment scope is so wide, to where music is behind film, television, now we're getting into content, you can actually grow and best move through the industry to where you can make it a career. Because at this point, you may have been an artist. Now you got some gems that you can drop and go and manage other artists. You can produce, so you can grow. That's a pro. Another pro is a lot of things going on right now. More and more artists who got into these bad record label deals, back in the day, they're starting to learn more about, You really don't. You still do need a label monetarily wise, you do, because they actually have the money. They have more money. But here's the thing.
So on the distribution side, you would deal with them more?
On the distribution side, I'll say, depending on the terms. I've been down that road where I did deal with distribution through Sony, didn't like it, right? Because the whole thing in a nutshell is this: you are paying for them to distribute, to put your music out into different streaming platforms. That's the point. But you also have to pay separately for the marketing. That's not a part of the distribution. So at that point, if you do not have the budget, or they're not going to put you, market you, put you on playlists and basically make sure that you go to radio, then you got to have a whole separate budget for that. So I would say the pros about it now is independent artists, more and more artists are becoming independent. And I saw this coming a long time ago, where I felt like the whole thing where COVID happened, and then also I want to say when COVID happened, that changed the game. A lot of things, basically, people were limited where they couldn't do everything. They weren't prepared for the remote world, right? The remote world has always been there in a corporate world. So I've always looked at record labels like corporations, right? So in that case, now they're seeing that you pretty much are putting more money into. They were trying to look at people's artists' social media. They're trying to find ways where they can, pretty much get on the bandwagon to get more of the artists by joining up with the distribution streaming sites. So I feel like another pro is that as an artist, you can release your own music now. You can decide whether or not, when you go through some of the distribution sites, some of those major labels are partnering with them. There are more packages that may be underneath those labels, that those distribution sites that are more artist friendly, So I feel like that's a plus there. So the world of the independent is taking over. The con is,
with this remote world, they're projected to do, I think it was 4 billion or something. With the remote world, they were saying something like that. It's projected to make about 4 billion in the next few years. So I would agree that, ever since COVID, and then we literally heard Bill Gates say that COVID is not the only thing that's going to come. There's more to come. So there'll be more people in the house, right?
Right.
So how do you see, as a techie, as you call it, how do you see creation and production flourishing for artists in that space?
I see that artists will most of the time, artists basically struggle with budgets, right? I think with technology, there's actually technology out now that you basically can just download as an app. I think it's going to be more apps that are going to be created to help you with mixing and mastering. More apps that will allow you to create a song or hook. A lot of people are using AI. It's going to allow more of the artists to eliminate having to go out into a studio and work with producers where, the cost of you paying for those people are very, very high. Whereas with the software probably is going to be either a monthly subscription that you can join to, so you'll have more subscription services, or it's either going to be more so one of those services where you can just do it on a project by project basis. So I think it'll allow the artist to have more flexibility within a budget that they can afford, and decide whether or not it's something that they choose to do, or or if they don't want to do it, so they can test it out and be able to see, whether or not they like it or not.
So are you going to dip and dabble into the AI world as well?
I wrote a book about AI.
Oh, I feel like Skynet is upon us. I've been saying it for like the past 5 months. You know, Skynet is here. Like we literally just saw the Tesla bot talking to 2 Chainz. So Skynet is upon us. Our robot life is here.
Our robot life is here. I think that there are still a lot of regulations. I will not use AI for music, for like creation. No.
I was going to ask, what about TV production?
I actually have used it for not so much a TV production, but what I will say is I have used the AI spokespersons. You know,
I got an AI commercial going.
Yeah, I've done that. You know, I will say AI is the way of the future. You just have to be careful in how you do utilize it. You know, most people are utilizing AI. I think it's better for you to collaborate with it and not use it to take over, not use it to steal something from others, but you can use it like with AI. You can get an AI spokesperson, but you write the script. They got tools now where you can drop the script in and see if someone is plagiarized what they've written. So it's a lot of different things there that if you learn about those tools, they can also help you with strategizing, marketing studies, you know, social media, all the things that algorithms use them for those things. So yeah, it's definitely going to be helpful to a lot of people who are also trying to manage their budget in the small business world as well. It's going to cut down a lot of things. But the maintenance of it is going to cost you.
All right. So now let's talk about the cons, because you gave us a lot of pros. Let's talk the cons.
The cons is just like you said in your song, it's some snakes and some scammers. They still going to be out
there. Oh, so you actually got the chance to listen now. What do you think?
I did like it. You know, I'm going to tell you. I listened to both. I listened to 2 of them, 2 out of the 3. I haven't listened to the third one. I got to listen to the third. I'm going to probably do that after this interview. Your flow was different in both of them, right? The first one with the snakes and the scammers, you know, that I listened to, it gave me no, is that the one about fake and snakes and scammers?
Fraud. It's called fraud.
Yeah. So that one is like in one song you gave me like a 50 Cent vibe, right? And then in the other song, it's like, you know what? I can hear a Jay-Z flow, you know? Right. And so, and what I mean, not necessarily that you sound about them, but one of the things that I pay attention to is the cadence, right? And I like artists who pretty much on every song they sound different. They do not sound the same.
I try to keep that going because I'm a seasoned artist for one. Mm-hmm. I've been through a lot for 2. And for 3, I try to stay relevant with the times as well. And that's something that I took from Jay. Yeah. Jay has always been a person that has, if the young kids is rapping this way, here I come with a new banger to hit y'all and I sound just like them. Yeah. And that's what you want. You don't want to use their language. You want to keep your language, but still keep the cadence to what's relevant today. And for me, I think that's something that I'm big on. And plus, beyond the fact that I don't write any of my music, that's something that I learned from him too. I do write music from time to time when I feel like it, but for the most part, I just come right in this booth that I'm in. I turn the computer on, and I turn into the punch-in king. And then relay the song over once I learn it by heart. So it doesn't sound like it was punched in at all.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I can tell. Because, you know, I was listening. I was like, wow. You know.
Now, the Fraud record wasn't punching at all.
Okay.
That was just straight through, just me just doing whatever I wanted to do. And I was just feeling it. And people was like, you said what? You said what? You said what? And it was like, and then I used the little chess cadence because I was talking about chess in the second verse.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? Like, where you going? You going in? And I was like, I just wanted to be a little different. And I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen.
You're welcome.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's the 5-year plan for Miss Diva, Intelligent Diva?
The 5-year plan for me is basically, I like to use myself starting out because I'm still building like this empire, And so one of the things that I noticed, like when I went to like my primary job, like I said, is technology. And once they found out, oh, you wrote a book, and my book was about AI. And I sat down and I talked to them, and they were like, wow. Once they told me that I was on the right track, and I feel like this was something major coming from people that were in a large corporation.
So tell the people the name of your book.
Collaboration with AI, artificial intelligence. And so that's one book I have. And then I also have
find it?
On Amazon Kindle. If you basically have a Kindle account, you can go and download it. I also have a book about inside the world of digital marketing. I also have a book telling people how to basically start their music career, right? So those are the 3 that I have. But what I'm seeing myself as I want to build each one of the empires. Once I get it done, then I'm going to transition out of the front, right? And I'm pretty much I'm going to be behind the scenes, So in 5 years, I see myself, I will still be more so heavily engaged, like in the actual TV world, making the content. I would be more structured on focusing on the business side. I will still do songs here and there, but it's not going to be like major releases. So the company will be fully scaled to where it would grow, where I'm not just looking at signing artists. I'm looking at basically signing everybody who is a contributor to the entertainment world, whether you be an author, whether you be a scriptwriter, a screenwriter, whatever it is that you do, I will be able to bring you on to the company, up underneath that umbrella. And from there, I want those people to also become entrepreneurs because everyone has a certain skill set.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I wanted to build, I'll be pretty much just focusing on the empire at that point and allowing the artists to be the artists and continue to do what they do and supporting them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's and to hear a person have a plan and know what they want to do, especially who has been in music and had billboards a #1.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone other than Jason Bloom who's had #1 records.
Really?
Like, yes, you are the second person I have ever met in life that has a #1.
Well, let me tell you a third. Let me tell you a third because I'm very, very proud of him. I have an artist I've been working at. He's also a very, very close friend of mine. His name is Paul Askew. You got to listen to his music. Paul Askew. And at that particular time, when we were working on our music, he was like one of the first artists that I actually worked with on his project. And that was the first artist I had get a #1 as well. Save Me went to #1. And so it was just a thrill to see that we both were able, because most people will say, you can't really manage an artist and be an artist, but I'm not one of those people because I want to see everybody win. Like I said, that's the true, genuine side of me. I want to see everyone win. I'm not afraid to pretty much make sure that I share those jewels and that knowledge. And I did, he listened, he followed instructions. I told him, you're going to learn this business. I told him I didn't really want to manage him. I wanted you to learn this business so that you can actually take this and you can build your own empire. Now he pretty much has the same thing. He has his own clothing line. You know, he's
I have a clothing line. I actually got one of my pieces on right here. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, I see it.
This is my God's Army collection right here. The Monty collection, God's Army.
Gotcha.
That's the angel with the AK in the hand. Shooting demons.
Yes. And that's what, and now, you know, it's funny you say that because all distribution companies are like, now you can sell your merchandise. Your merchandise will get you income while you sleep, you know. Also, you know, starting your film projects and everything. So music, being able to have that as a number one and being able to work with artists who are pretty much Grammy now. He got a Grammy nomination, you know, that was like, I was so proud because at the end of the day, when we started on this journey, there was no one else doing this type of stuff as an independent artist. You just didn't see it. And so I felt like, you know, that was something that was taken away. That's never been a part of the industry within itself, keeping people in the dark so you can take advantage. I want to see you flourish. So I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to water the garden. I want to see you flourish. So that's something that I'm very, very proud of. And ever since then, you know, most people also don't know it's not always about Billboard. It's about whether or not you have a hit record. You can have a radio station, and a radio station can have their top 10.
Right. And you can sustain a career just being on radio without a number one. I agree.
Without a number one. You know, every song I have released so far has been on the top 10 of a radio station. You know, and basically I'm grateful for that because that's why I pay homage to radio, because I feel like radio is very important still today. And one of the things
artists feel like radio is not important though. A lot of them, you know, especially like the younger generation, they really look at it like, who's listening to radio? But to be honest, the biggest artists are the ones that's on the radio the most, you know.
That is true. And you know what? It's interesting you say that because you are also in radio and you have a podcast. And the reason why you're important is because when you're listening to streaming is not telling you about the artist. So you may have someone come on internet radio, or you may have someone that you're listening to on YouTube. You only know who they are on YouTube because it's telling you the title and everything. You're listening to music on the radio. It's not giving you a bio about this person. You know, radio helps you grow because guess what? That radio personality, they have an audience. They have a podcast. Right. They have social media. So now a lot of times, you know, you got to think like the actual record labels. When the record labels put you out, a lot of times they used to try to sell, not the major labels, but a lot of people will come at you, try to sell a feature to you, thinking that if you get this person on as a feature, that audience is going to gravitate to you. No, it's not, because that feature, they're not promoting your record. But guess what? Right. That DJ is introducing you to the audience. So now they know who you are. They're giving you the opportunity to tell your story. So that's why radio is important.
That's right. And, you know, I agree with you because I do this for one. And for two, I agree because telling the story is the most important part of the artist.
Right.
And although you tell your story through the music, this part of it, the interviews are the parts that shows the vulnerable side of you so that the fans can understand you in a way where the music doesn't transcend just yet until you put them together.
That's true.
Once you put them together, then it transcends and elevates you on another level. So
that's true.
That's the only way I can explain it, where, you know, it's just flat out, you know. I think that for a lot of the younger generation, they want to just skip the radio part and just go straight to Billboard, and it doesn't work that way. Once they get in, they find out it's a process, it's a press run, it's all sorts of things that you have to do to get to the level that you're trying to accomplish. And then a lot of them want to tap out, but you already got in now. This is what you was asking for. Right. You got to go out there and now put your best foot forward. So I say to the youth and all of the ones that are watching, put your best foot forward and continue to understand the game and how it goes. Because like Miss Diva said, these things are important. The radio is definitely important.
Yeah, and you hit on a good point too. The press releases are important. PR is very important, and a lot of times people are so focused on what press is trending, so they don't care whether it's good press, bad press. They just want it to be out there. But I always say you don't always have to wait until something is released before you do a press release. You could be working on a project that you have up and coming, you want to talk about, and basically if you have a journalist or someone that can tell your story, the more that they can put your face out there through social media, telling people about who you are, what you're working on, letting them know you're constantly relevant. I feel bad a lot of times, some artists, you're so used to them making music, and then when they venture off and they're doing TV, movies, and then someone wants you to reach out, like say to a music blog to put out the music, they're like, oh well, that person isn't popping anymore, they haven't released something in a while. But guess what? Music never dies, because as long as it has that ISRC code, that UPC code, and it's on a streaming site, someone is going to play it.
Right.
And then the more, and what people don't realize is SEO is real. A lot of artists don't really focus on SEO.
SEO is real, not just for music, folks. Right. It's definitely, if you want to be e-com or whatever else that you want to do, your SEO is important, because you're going to need it.
Right.
You're going to need it.
Exactly.
But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, SEO.
Not to cut you off, I apologize, but
that's okay. SEO is real. So everything that you do that comes out there and is ranking on those pages, regardless of the search engine, that's going to trigger those algorithms that's on those streaming sites. So you want to have good press. It doesn't have to be bad press. So I don't care what it is, make sure that someone knows what you're working on, that you stay relevant. Don't take a gap. You can take a breather, but talk about your breather.
That's right.
So
and Google Ads is your friend too.
Yeah.
That helps with your SEO. So Google Ads is definitely your friend when it comes to that, folks. So without further ado, I want to get into playing your video.
Okay.
We are going to play Slide, folks. Keep it locked in. Intelligent Diva, the podcast exclusive. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Thank you for joining us, and wonderful, wonderful audience we have here today. Now, we have Grandma Diva, who has a message for her dear granddaughter Promise, and she wants Promise to understand what she's trying to say. You know the motto that we always tell people as, we're the elders. You do as we say, not as what we did. Don't follow our mistakes. We don't want you to make the same mistakes that we made. So guess what? Promise is going to have an exercise, and that exercise will be for her to write a song. And believe it or not, Promise has chosen to write a song on how he slid. He slid. That is what she wants to talk about. Woo! I am his side. You know what? You need to go to church
talking
girl,
and he said
put yourself
really want me.
in comparing yourself to some turkey chicken. Talk
He
about
likes all this.
He want what he had at home.
Promise I ain't raised
I
you
know
like
you
this.
ain't raised
Where's
me like
him
that,
now? You
but
gonna
he
make me pull
wanted
up on
all
him.
of this,
ABC,
Grandma.
you gonna have to come
I
see
can't
me.
help it. If she
Come
couldn't
see
take
me.
care of her
Y'all
man at
need
home,
Jesus.
that ain't got nothing to do with me.
Jesus
Ain't
up
got
in here.
nothing to do.
It got nothing to do with me. It got nothing to do with me, grandmama.
Damn fool.
Because
somebody need to say something. You know what?
We was all the
She
victims.
come on this show and she
We was the victims. He ain't saying that. Well, Promise ain't no victim. She
you out here comparing yourself to a
ain't my fault.
and some goddamn chicken tenders at Popeyes.
I ain't
some
do it.
2-piece, 4-piece.
My man slid.
You know what?
My man
You need to go to church.
My man chose.
Instead of put
Chose,
yourself
grandmama.
in.
You want to slide?
Yeah.
So I can climb the beanstalk. I might let you slide. home. That's all I'm trying to tell my grandmama. I didn't break up his home. His home was broke up. His home was already over. Everything was out of the way when I met him. I didn't come in and tear the shit up. I ain't tear it up. It ain't my fault. Ain't nobody tell him to allow his tallywag. He should have just told the truth to all the women and let them make a decision. But see, then he had done got caught up with this one, that one, this one, this one, this one, that one, da 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 da. Yeah, he got caught up with all of them. And then at that point, they all made a decision. Some wanted to stay, some wanted to leave. Some wanted to stay, some wanted to leave. I chose to stay. He chose. That's what it is. He chose. Bottom line, you happy? I'm happy. He slid, your man slid.
Yeah. I liked it. It was very entertaining. Definitely very entertaining. Different, gives that neo soul vibe, you know, and gives something to the imagination, you know, like we were talking about. So what you got coming next? We got about 3 minutes left. So anything you want to say to the folks?
Yeah, so the next project that I have coming out, we're going to be working on episodes 4 and 5. that are going to be released pretty soon. They're going to be coming out with the Warriors Project, which is going to be the visual EP based off the Promise character. And so that's going to have some R&B hip hop songs. It's going to be talking about a little bit of things of what I described to you tonight that I went through. And also going to also be expanding the TV channel over to Amazon Music and Apple. So those are the things we have coming up for within the next couple of, I want to say with the next 2 to 3 months.
Oh, that's pretty dope. So, all right. What I need you to do is stay on.
Okay.
But I'm going to log off to the folks.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is say goodbye to the folks.
Okay.
So you can give yours first.
Okay, goodbye, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you enjoy, me basically sharing my story with you. You can follow me on Intelligent Diva Music on Instagram, Chinsia Wilson on Facebook. You can stream my music on all streaming platforms. And just know, if you are artists, we will be looking for you come 2025. So if you rap, you sing, you dance, whatever it is, hit us up. You can do Intelligent Diva Music at gmail.com.
Hey, and this your boy Tigmatic, episode 70, Intelligent Diva. Folks, I want to thank everybody in Egypt, Ghana, UK, Paris. Yo, Italy was rocking with your boy earlier today on the Blue Sky Show too. Yo, it was a lot of people. I ain't going to say the number because then I'll be gloating. But I'm not going to do that because I'm humble and the Lord, I love him and I don't want him to smack me up for trying to be cocky. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to keep it like that. But folks, next week, we got another treat for y'all. Keep it locked in. And this your boy. Peace.